Alrighty, it's your boy Zuxis, and today we're going to be doing an SSR tier list only, overall tier list for Black Clover Mobile Rise of the Wizard King. Now, this one is not going to include SRs because I'm going to save that for another video, where I'm going to do basically SSRs only, then SRs only, and then SSRs and SRs. There are rares in the game, but I don't feel like any of them have a place on the tier list. Yeah, you know what I mean? But maybe I'll do one for literally every single character in the game. And then this is also going to go for SSRs only in arena, SRs only in arena, and then SSRs and SRs in arena. So essentially, there's going to be minimum 6 tier lists for each, basically, what I just said, right? So let's just go through it quickly because it's not going to be hard to rank these. I've done it before throughout the closed beta testing. This is actually when I'm recording it. The game is not out at the time, but when this does come out, or maybe it might come out before, honestly, it might come out before, right? I might redo it depending on if they change anything, but this tier list might come out before the actual game releases, but we'll see. But let's start off with William. Now, William is easily, in my opinion, a top 3 unit in the game. I'm actually having him at 3. He was number 2 for me for the longest, but there's another character when we get to her. Yeah, there's only 2 or 3 female characters you see there, and you probably know what I'm talking about. But when we get to her, I'm gonna explain why I think she's better than William, right? But William, a great character. He doesn't have any AoE skills, which is not really a problem. So it's just when it comes to story and stuff, he can't really quick speed or like quick run anything, right? He only has single targets, but his ultimate actually gives everyone debuff immunity, or has a chance to. I think he has a chance to. He has invincibility he can give to everyone, has a chance to do that as well. But basically, when an ally does get invincibility, they cannot go below 1 HP for that turn. Very good. And he does heal, and again, I said he already has debuff block, but his main like feat is his second skill, and that is his stun essentially, right? He puts an enemy in a tree, and over time, that enemy, for I guess every turn, that enemy is actually losing speed, and speed is very important in this game. Even though this game is turn-based, speed is what determines who goes first, who goes when, who goes this, who goes that. So when it comes to solo bosses, right, that he can actually put in the tree, he is basically making it that your whole team could probably do 2, 3 full-blown turns before they can attack once, which is great. And by the time that happens, he can use it again. So he can basically spam it and spam. I know in Arena, he basically spams it. It's insane, right? He's one of the best characters in the game. In Arena, one of the best characters in Arena, all that stuff. So easily S tier character in my opinion. We have Golia now. I don't think he's honestly that crazy. I think he's a B tier character. I honestly think he's a B tier character. Overall, right? Overall. And if it was arena, I would say he's A, but overall, I'm gonna say he's B, right? He only has one AoE skill, which is on his second skill, which is not bad. He's a fire guy, so obviously he's gonna have burn and stuff like that. He is actually a character that how should I explain it? He's a character that like for someone you would think has a lot of AoEs, he has obviously a lot of single targets, right? Which is weird. I think he should have had literally only AoE skills, but it is what it is. I don't think he does anything special, right? He doesn't have any debuffs that are really like a make or break or anything insane, right? His burn is not good. I mean, burn is a good, it's okay, but it's not like crazy. It's not like, oh my god, he's best unit in the game type thing, right? I honestly don't think he has a use in PvE content. I think his only use is in like literally arena. I think his only use is in arena, right? So there is that. Charlotte, she actually just came out today during the closed beta testing servers. Her placement is still gonna be C for me, honestly. I don't think she does anything important, right? Basically, if she doesn't taunt you, she actually just gets more speed, which is I guess good, but it's useless in the sense because all she does after that is poison, right? There's nothing else that she does that's like threatening, right? It would be, scary if she didn't taunt you, she could, outspeed you and then, stun you like William or freeze you like, some of these other characters here, right? But she doesn't do anything like that. I think her biggest feat is that I guess she can taunt, but besides that, I don't really see anything else going for her as of right now, right? Of course, we still need a lot more testing with her, but right now, with the bit of testing we have from before today, because she was already out as a character, but from before today and now as a character, I still don't find any value in her personally. Asta, A tier character. Now this is a seasonal Asta. He's actually a free character if you pick him from your Gateway of Destiny. He is the hardest hitting unit in the game, technically, right? In terms of stat numbers, he is the hardest hitting unit character in the game, right? Everybody else on their skill says they do a total of like 100 to 103 attack and magic attack. This guy's cards say he does 184 to 200%, right? That he literally doubles what everybody else is doing. He is the hardest thing you in the game. He doesn't have a single AoE, but when it comes to solo bosses, there's no question he's the best for speed running that. So when it comes to bosses like Mars, when it comes to Lotus, Heath, when it comes to raids, and in PvP, he's a dominator. He's crazy. He's one of the best he's literally the best, like technically best damage dealer in the game, technically, because there's another character who's literally the hardest thing you in the game, but we'll talk about it in a second. Now we got Mars. Mars is an A tier character. Um, he does have AoEs. He has two on his ultimate and his second skill, so you technically can quick run with him in story. He does have a taunt and he stuns like crazy. He's actually one of the most scary characters in this game, I think. In arena, he's one of the best in arena, right? Because he can taunt everybody and stun everybody, and then on his normal skill 1 card, he has a 60% chance to stun enemies. That like it's crazy to me how they designed this character, right? And he's like a defensive god, right? He's literally such a problem in PvP. I honestly think, honestly, like if they made him a bit better with his damage, honestly, I could see him in S tier overall, because again, having double AoEs is good for quick running, and again, being able to stun and taunt and tank everything will obviously put you up there. So I'm gonna just put him in A for overall, but if it comes to arena, we'll talk about that in that arena tier list, right? Yami, I'm gonna put him in B for overall, right? Now, technically he's supposed to be a insane damage dealer, but he lacks damage heavenly, right? He's a character that you want to crit because he actually benefits from critting, but he doesn't really crit unless you have his mage skill, right? Which basically increases his crit chance by 40% when you use his second skill, right? But besides that, he has the AoE, which is his normal attack, his skill 1, no cooldown, so that's pretty good. But besides that, he's not really hitting hard, right? In arena, he's doing more damage, obviously. I would assume. Not assume, I use him all the time, but he's just doing more, he's just better in arena than he is everywhere else, right? I'm sorry. He doesn't do anything else. Like, he can crit, and even with his passive, he's still hitting like a total of 10k. That is less than majority. William can hit harder than this guy, essentially, right? Obviously, there's some cases where he's banging out insane numbers, but overall, I don't really want to rely on him, in my opinion, right? Overall is the S tier character. He is a character that kind of depends on debuffs and buffs on the enemies. That's not a problem because he does have an AoE debuffing skill. It's like a 50 or a 25% chance to proc it. But when he does proc it, you're basically doing 20% more damage to whatever enemy has that debuff. It's great. And then his ultimate, if they have a buff, he actually ignores 60% of their defense. And then if they have a debuff, he's doing 30% more attack. So if they have his debuff, I forgot what it's called, but his debuff where when it's on them, he does 20% more damage. With his ultimate, he's basically doing 50% more damage. And if that character has a buff too, he is ignoring their defense by 60%. He hits hard, right? In PvP, he's going to be great, especially with Jack. In PvE, he's great, literally with Jack. He's an insane character, right? And he's a free character as well. That's not really pushing him up on the tier list. It's not, but, it's definitely something to mention. Sally. Right now, in my opinion, Sally is the worst character in the game. Literally, she does nothing. She can transfer debuffs, which were in PvP, that's great. But everywhere else, useless. I'm sorry, useless, right? Because enemies are not debuffing you like that. Literally in story mode or anywhere else, enemies are not debuffing you like that. I think the only, I guess she would be good against Heath, like the solo Heath boss. Maybe against like solo bosses, she would be able to do something here and there. But her biggest feat is that she can transfer debuffs and she can poison. Besides that, she's not hitting hard. She's not doing anything else. And it's like if the debuffs aren't great, then it's useless, right? Against someone like William, what she's really transferring, I guess, is the speed only, and she's still getting stunned. So it's kind of bad. I don't know. I don't think she's a great character in my opinion. I think she's actually one of the actually the worst SSR in the game. If you look at all these characters, she is no question the worst SSR in the game. But if they do start adding characters who have a debuff like attack seal, then she will go up like that, because being able to transfer something like attack seal or like something that will stop them from attacking will be very, very, very good in my opinion. But honestly, overall, not a great character. Nozel. Nozel overall is the A tier character. He's a great defensive DPS, I would say. He has double AoE skills, and basically when he uses his second strong attack that gives him protect, he does more damage on his ultimate, which is great. And then obviously his first strong attack doesn't really do that much damage. If you have a specific mage skill, like I know right now the mage skill I have on him is if he crits, he does 20% or like 25 more crit damage. He has a 5% increase on crit rate and then 25% more crit damage. That is a great set for him. He does hit like a truck with that. Not like a truck, but he does hit very, very hard with that if he does crit. So if you don't have his main mage skill, that is something you can have on him. I forgot what it was called. I think it's the water. I forgot what it's called. I apologize, but that is a great skill on him. But overall, he's a great unit, right? He has the defense. He gives himself a barrier. He has the protect, which is the barrier, and he has double AoE. So for like farming story, quick speed running, he's gonna be great. And then obviously in PvP, he's gonna be great, right? Being able to be a very tanky unit with AoEs is gonna be very good. Mimosa, second best unit in the game, easily. This girl is insane. Now, when you get her to LR, right? When you get these characters to LR, they get a specific passive, right? Without her LR, she can heal on her first and her ultimate skill. But her third card, it doesn't do anything besides, it does something great, but it doesn't heal her, right? It doesn't heal nobody else. When you get her to LR, she now has heals on everything she does. So if you do get her to LR, which is the highest rarity, she is healing everybody on your team anytime she does anything. If it's an ultimate, if it's her second skill, or her first skill. And she's not healing you like 500 like William. She's healing you 10, 20, 30k. She's healing you. She's healing you. And I have a card set on her where she does 8% more anytime she heals. Or I guess it's upgraded to 9%, right? But great character, great character. She has debuff block. She has freaking, what is it? She has debuff block. She heals like crazy. Her second skill lowers attack by 60%, lowers crit rate by 40%. Oh my god, she is actually like so broken to the point where it's like in arena, if you're fighting her, you're gonna be there for a long time. For a character who's able to heal for everything she does, great character. Great character. In my opinion, I do think she is the second best character in the game, and she's a free character. You can get her from the Gateway of Destiny, right? I do think she is the second best character in the game. It can honestly switch between her and William, but I will say she's top 3 easily. Best support in the game, easily, in my opinion. Now we have Realm. He is the best character in the game. He's the best character in the game. He is broken. Now, what makes him broken, his main feat is his counter, right? He has his second skill is a counter skill that basically hits like a truck. The numbers he is doing, nobody else in the game is doing. My Rhya has crit for a total of 78,000. No character in the game, at least right now where we are in the closed beta testing server, no character, nobody has over 70k HP. So for someone to crit for 78 is insane. He literally one-shots. This was an arena, right? And I have a video. I'll kind of show it. If I remember to, I'll show it. But he literally attacked. He countered. He didn't crit, but he countered for 35k. That is half of the average player's HP. One of the best characters. Not to mention, on his first skill, which has no cooldown, he has a 50% chance to freeze, burn, and reduce healing. Not and, like it's or, like he gets one of them. He has a 50% chance to do one of those on an enemy. And on his ultimate, he actually reduces defense and removes buffs. When you get him to LR, he puts paralyze on everybody. It's not like stun or anything. It's just damage over time, essentially. And then also, if you have his mage skill, he has a 50% chance to increase allies' defense by 50%. When you use his counter. So easily the best character in the game. The numbers he does, He's literally great everywhere. In PvP, everybody has an AoE, so if they attack into him, and he can counter ults, right? Of course, that's one thing that makes him great. When they ult you, he can counter those as well, right? Right, he's the hardest thing there's nobody that comes close to the amount of damage he does. And he's not even supposed to be Asta's supposed to be the hardest thing in the game. But nobody does what he does, right? And then finally we have Jack. I'm gonna put Jack in, honestly, I'm gonna put him in C tier. I mean, I could put him in B tier. Uh, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put Sally in C and I'm gonna remove D. We're gonna do that. We're gonna remove D and we're gonna put, and we'll be in B tier, right? He's a great character for his normal attack is skill 1, right? It's an AoE that essentially lowers enemies' HP. He lowers enemies' HP. It's not by like 50 or 70%. It's not like a huge number, but to lower HP is obviously great, and it's a permanent debuff. So him paired up with who does 30% more damage on debuff enemies on his ultimate, is great, right? Because one, their HP is lowered, he's doing 30% more, and if he does proc his own debuff, if you play right, he's basically doing 50% more damage to an enemy that has their HP lowered, I should say, right? And if they have buffs, he's ignoring 60% of their defense, right? But besides that, Jack has no other use. I mean, second skill, it's okay. It like puts 3 bleed on a character, which is great. It's not doing as much damage though. It's not doing any damage, but of course it does damage. And then his ultimate, basically, if he ults a character with bleed, his crit damage increases by 20% for each bleed. So if an enemy has 3 bleed and he ults that character with 3 bleed, his crit damage will be increased by 60%, but it's essentially useless if he doesn't crit, right? So yeah, he's not really that great of a character, but he is definitely a quick farmer, right? Because him being able to lower HP on a skill that has no cooldown is fantastic for early on gameplay, early on content, I would say. Even in story or in arena, that's great, right? So I think honestly, this is going to be my tier list for all these characters. Right? I think in S tier, it's literally ranked. Honestly, this might be the yeah, in S tier it's ranked, right? You have the 1, 2, 3, and then 4. I would say Asta's the 5th best character in the game. Maybe it's Mars. I'd say Mars is a lot better than Asta, right? Asta's probably a 6. Mm, I'd say it is Nozel, and then this is not really ranked, and then she's easily the worst character in the game. I'm sorry. She shouldn't even have an SSR, so she's lucky she even has that. But you guys let me know what you think of my tier list, right? If anything, if it helps, I am the #1 player in the beta server. I've used all these characters, I've tested them all in PvP, I've tested them all in story. So hopefully if that eases your mind, it eases your mind. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. But you guys let me know who you would switch and why. Let me know if there's anything I missed for a character, and I'll come back obviously and redo it for my other tier list. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace. Subscribe and like.